What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Packer Perspective. We are just a couple days away from week 1 of the regular season, so I figured today we can go over a little bit of some advanced data and look at that week 1 matchup against the Detroit Lions. We'll figure out where this game can be won or lost for our Green Bay Packers. But before we get into it, I'd appreciate a like, and if you're a fellow Packer fan, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to be here all season long breaking down everything Green Bay. Let's get into it. So first off, both of these teams had a lot of changes in this offseason. Detroit lost both of their coordinators, Ben Johnson on offense, Aaron Glenn on the defensive side of the ball, and they'll also be without their all-pro center, Frank Ragnow. Meanwhile, Green Bay's roster mostly stayed intact with a few changes. They drafted wide receiver Matthew Golden in the first round, and of course, most recently, they did trade for all-pro pass rusher Micah Parsons. So let's see how last year's numbers stack up. So in 2024, Green Bay's offense was sneakily one of the best in the entire league. They ranked 3rd in both passing and rushing DVOA. They ranked 7th in EPA per dropback and 9th in rushing EPA. On the other side, Detroit's defense was also near the top. They ranked 4th in pass defense DVOA, and they ranked 10th in rush defense DVOA, as well as 6th in EPA per dropback. So here's where it gets fun. The Lions played man coverage more than any team in the NFL, over 60% of their snaps. They also blitzed at the 5th highest rate, but they were only able to generate pressure at the 24th highest rate. So they would send extra guys, but they struggled to get home. And that left them vulnerable. They gave up the 5th highest rate of explosive plays in the league, but in the red zone, they were elite. They had the number 1 lowest completion percentage allowed inside the 20-yard line. So now let's take a look at how Green Bay performed against man coverage and high blitz rates. Jordan Love against man coverage was kind of a mixed bag. He was only 27th in completion percentage, but he did rank 6th in EPA per dropback and threw 19 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. Here's the problem. Christian Watson was the only true man beater for this Packers team, and we know that he's going to be out for a while. Guys like Romeo, Wicks, Reed, and Kraft were all much better against zone coverage than they were against man coverage. And this is where rookie Matthew Golden, I think, can make the biggest impact in 2025. He's going to be stepping right into that Christian Watson role, playing on the perimeter, and he's going to be able to have to be a man beater for this team. He's going to need to stretch the field and get deep and be reliable on some of these deep targets for Jordan Love. Against the blitz, Jordan Love struggled. He ranked 27th in completion percentage, 23rd in EPA per dropback, but he did rank top 6 in explosive play rate and top 5 in red zone completion percentage. That's kind of the push and pull that we saw last year with Jordan. But I think it's important to put into context that Love was hurt for majority of last year, so I'm optimistic that going into 2025 and heading into week 1 of the regular season, that a lot of these issues will be resolved. Now on the other side of the ball, let's take a look at this Lions offense going up against this Green Bay Packers defense. Detroit's offense was top tier in 2024. They ranked 6th in pass DVOA, 2nd in rush DVOA, and top 5 in both rushing and passing EPA. And Green Bay's defense was strong. They ranked 9th in pass DVOA, 7th against the run, and 4th in dropback EPA allowed. They played zone at the 2nd highest rate in the league and almost never blitzed. But here's the thing. When they did blitz, they had the highest pressure rate in the entire NFL. So that's a big question. Can this team manufacture pressure without sending the blitz? That's where a guy like Micah Parsons, I think, is going to have his biggest impact on this team starting in week 1. Now, Jared Goff against zone last year was very efficient in yards per attempt, but also turnover prone. He had 12 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. A guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown is basically matchup proof, and he's going to play well against zone coverage or man coverage. But without Ragnow in the middle, I'm curious to see how this offensive line holds up against a guy like Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, and some of these other guys on the defense side of the ball. I'm also interested to see how Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery look. Are they going to be maybe a little bit more inefficient heading into this season without that all-pro center? So for me, there are 4 main key storylines that I'm looking for in this game. 1, can Matthew Golden step up right away? I mentioned it above, but without Watson, this team desperately needs a guy to be able to stretch the field. They need a man beater. And I'm just not confident that anybody else right now on this Packers roster has the ability to do that. Matthew Golden has the speed and he has the reliability of his solid hands to be able to do that. Now 2, Explosive plays versus red zone stops. Green Bay Packers offense created explosive plays and was elite in the red zone in 2024. However, Detroit gave up explosive plays, but they shut teams down inside the 20s as one of the best red zone defenses in the NFL. And 3, life without Ragnow. How is this Lions offense going to look? Jared Goff is not the most mobile quarterback, and if this team is struggling to defend pass rushers like Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary, they could be in a world of trouble. That's a big storyline. And 4, how do the new coordinators look for this Lions team? Losing your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator is a tough thing to do, especially when those guys immediately got head coaching jobs. And I think a lot of people think that those coaches were very valuable for this team, specifically on the offensive side of the ball and Ben Johnson. Is Jahmyr Gibbs all of a sudden going to get most of the work? Is that defense going to maybe fall apart? Are they going to play zone coverage more than they play man coverage? So, in conclusion, I have 2 X factors for the Green Bay Packers on offense and defense that I think will make or break this game. On offense, my X factor is rookie Matthew Golden. I mentioned it before. This Packers offense desperately needs to be able to stretch the field. I think it's very important for this team to get off to a fast start and utilize Matthew Golden to our advantage. Jordan Love needs a man beater. He needs a guy to stretch the field, and most importantly, a reliable target on third downs. Because last year, almost a third of Jordan Love's incompletions on third down were due to receiver error. That's got to change. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going with second-year linebacker Edgerrin Cooper. I think Cooper has all the tools and the upside to be an all-pro linebacker for this team, and I'm optimistic that he's going to take that step forward starting in week 1. Parsons is the obvious choice here, but we're not sure how much he's going to be able to play in week 1. I think just him being out there on the field is going to make guys like Rashawn Gary, Edgerrin Cooper, Lucas Van Ness, it's going to make all their lives easier. But Cooper's role is going to have to be guarding Jahmyr Gibbs when he lines up out wide, and he's going to be running routes out of the backfield. He's also going to need to put pressure on guys like Jared Goff. If Golden flashes early and Cooper steps up, I think Green Bay has the edge in this matchup. So guys, that concludes Inside the Matchup for week 1. I am super stoked to get this rolling, man. I am ready for week 1, as I know you guys are too. I'm cautiously optimistic that this team can take a step forward this year, and most importantly, get up to a fast start, something that this team has struggled to do in years past. So you guys let me know in the comments. Who is your impact player? I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be here all season long breaking down everything Green Bay. Until the next one, go Pack Go.